Welcome to Gabriel Music Notation. I'm your host, William Taffley, the inventor of Gabriel Music Notation. On this program, I want to respond to a thoughtful comment I received in part 2 of this series regarding the obstacles I have encountered in trying to explain my new system to those in the world of music. The user's name is Stefann Himpe, and here is what he said. In what I understand to be new music, avant-garde, post-classical things, it is extremely common for composers to invent new notation systems and for publishers to publish such scores. So I'm not sure I buy the argument of closed-minded musicians. That's the term I used. But let's roll with it for now. But wait a minute, Stefann. Let's not roll with it. Let's get to the truth. Of all the music performed in concert halls around the world each year, how much is by composers who invented new notation systems? I'd be generous if I said 1%. So you are mistaken. It is not extremely common for composers to invent new notation systems. But Stefann continues. I think we can agree that today's mainstream music notation has served its goal for many centuries and is highly efficient at communicating musical ideas. To replace such a system, one needs a system that is not just equally good, but clearly superior to what exists. So now here we can agree, Stefann, because my Gabriel Music Notation is far superior to mainstream music notation. It is 15 times easier to learn because it substitutes one 12-tone chromatic scale for 15 separate 7-tone scales. Stefann continues. Some problems I see when I look at your notation. Number one, no distinction between A sharp and B flat, which does not mix well with concepts in music theory. Sure, these are the same keys on a piano, which is typically tuned in 12-tone equal temperament. But for a violinist or a singer using, for example, just intonation, they produce distinct pitches. So now, Stefann, you need to peruse all my videos on Gabriel Music Notation. The difference between A sharp and B flat is expressed in the shape of the note head. Both are black to indicate they are expressed by the same black keyboard key, as you know, but the axis of the rectangular sharp note head is at a 30-degree angle to the staff lines, while the flat note head is parallel to the staff lines, and therefore gives you a flat appearance. Thus we see that Gabriel Music Notation is not just for keyboard instruments. Stefann continues. Number 2. What you see is what you play. White notes for white keys and black notes for black keys. Sure, on a keyboard instrument, that kind of makes sense. But a singer doesn't have white or black keys. So for them, the advantage is far less obvious to me. Stefann, you are correct, except the advantage for singers, as well as for non-keyboard instruments, is that all the intervals are accurate. Sharps, flats, double sharps, double flats, etc. can all appear on the same line or space of standard notation, even though they are different tones. Gabriel corrects that anomaly, and each tone of the chromatic scale registers on a unique staff location. Since each tone sounds different, therefore they should look different. They should not appear on the same line or space. And Stefann continues. Number 3. The clefs are really confusing. They look like the ones in traditional notation, but in traditional notation, the line where the G clef starts indicates where the G note is located. The line where the F clef starts indicates where an F is notated. And for a C clef, the line around which the curl is shown indicates where the C note is located. All 3 clefs come in different flavors that start on different lines. In your notation, what I recognize as a G clef seems to start on an A sharp /B. My response: clef signs are not needed in Gabriel notation since the Gabriel staff design stays the same throughout the entire music spectrum. I retained the standard clef signs not to indicate specific pitch locations, but to differentiate bass notes from treble notes, etc. Also to give the new music a traditional look. Musicians trying for the first time Gabriel Music Notation will feel less threatened by a radical new notation if they see as many familiar elements as possible. At least that's my philosophy. Number 4, by using colors for note heads to indicate pitch, I wonder how you can then notate certain rhythms. And my response to Stefann: the difference between whole notes, half notes, quarter notes, 16th notes, etc. is attained through the note stems, the stem flags, and note head shapes. Number 5, you claim 70% less staff height for your notation, but in every picture I've seen of your notation, which admittedly are only those in your 2 YouTube videos, the staff height usually is around 1.5 times higher than the traditional notation. And the room between staves in a system is less. My response: my Gabriel staff uses 70% less staff height than other previous chromatic notation proposals, of which there are many, because they all use the standard 1/2 note head separation between notes, as borrowed from traditional notation. Obviously, a staff that registers 12 notes, as opposed to 7 notes, will require 70% greater staff height, because 70% of 7 is 5, and when you add 5 to 7, you get 12. Of course, that is if the note separation remains at 1/2 note head. Gabriel overcomes this problem by advancing the chromatic scale at 1/3 note head intervals rather than 1/2 note head intervals. Stefann continues with number 6. The dots in the white oval are pretty hard to read for me, even with a higher staff height. When trying to sight read, I imagine this could be really problematic. On the other hand, it's not clear why you'd introduce any dots if your notation is about what you see is what you play. The vision behind this aspect of your notation is not clear to me, and my response: dots within white oval shaped note heads or within black angular shaped note heads would not be necessary if Gabriel was strictly a keyboard notation. Gabriel is for all instruments. The dots help differentiate between double sharps and double flats for those instruments that can distinguish between those tones. And Stefann continues, so there you have it. Maybe you can address some of these points in a future video, which you're seeing right now, or you can dismiss them as yet another rejection of a closed-minded musician. Well, no, I didn't say that, Stefann. I will leave it up to you. Good luck in your future endeavors, Stefann Himpe. So thanks for your observations, Stefann. Let me know if you have any further questions. My mailing address is Post Office Box 291, Osage, Iowa 50461, and I hope to see all of you again on my next program in this series on the obstacles I have encountered in trying to educate the world of music about my new and much easier to learn Gabriel Music Notation.